Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now that UFC 298 fight week is almost over, I want to talk a little bit about Ilia Topuria and what could potentially be next for him if he were to win or if he were to lose this Saturday night against Alexander Volkanovski. Now, in my opinion, Ilia Topuria has essentially burnt the boats, okay, so to speak. Like, it's 15-19, and his name is Hernan Cortez. The only difference being is he is not going to have 600 men to help him carry out his mission. He will be alone, locked in an octagon with one of the greatest featherweights of all time in Alexander Volkanovski. Now, what I mean by Ilia Topuria has burnt the boats, okay, is that he has essentially put himself in a must-win situation. There is no turning back now. If we go to the very beginning of this fight, we look at all of the antics during the lead-up, we look at all of the antics during fight week, right, starting with the promotion, the trailer that was put out by his team, because guess what, dude, Ilia Topuria is filming a movie, a documentary, for something that he hasn't even done yet. Do you know what I mean? It's unhinged confidence, and I kind of respect it, I'll be honest. I'll tell you why in just a minute. But then we have the Twitter bio, the Instagram bio, already claiming 15-0 world champion, right? Then you jump to fight week, okay? We have the antics there as well. We've got him bringing Volkanovski flowers for Valentine's Day. We've got him stealing the belt and posing with it for photo shoot. We've got him at the 298 press conference stealing the belt and hanging it above his head like he has already won the damn thing. Do you know what I mean? It is truly crazy levels of confidence that this man has. Now, all right, now I see a lot of people talking about what would happen if Ilia Topuria were to lose this fight, right? And I do want to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I want to touch on what happens if Ilia Topuria wins. Do you know what I mean? Now, I have picked Alexander Volkanovski to win this fight. However, that does not mean that Ilia Topuria cannot win this fight. Ilia Topuria actually has a very good chance of winning this fight. He is a very skilled, very capable fighter and could go out there and do exactly what he said he's going to do, okay? We don't know. It's a fight. Anything can happen. Now, if Ilia Topuria were to go out there and win, I think it would be one of the biggest meteoric rises in UFC history. This man already has 2.3 million followers on Instagram, okay? He's a contender. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. The following that he has is insane. And if he were to win, I feel like he would win over the Western market, which we all know, as annoying as it may be, is very important for becoming a pay-per-view star in the UFC. Now, if Ilia Topuria were to lose this fight, obviously, dude, might be one of the biggest humblings of all time, right? With shades of Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm. Only difference being is Ronda Rousey was a fucking champion at the time of that fight. Do you know what I mean? Where Ilia Topuria is a contender. But earlier on in the video, I said that I respected the level of confidence from Ilia Topuria, and I want to explain why a little bit. Now, for me, Ilia Topuria's confidence and all of his antics leading up to this fight have made me more excited for this fight than I already was. Do you know what I mean? As a hardcore fan of MMA, I was very excited for this matchup, the style matchup, watching the two guys fight to see who would win. However, since Ilia Topuria has done all of this, pushed his eggs all in one basket, all of the chips are in, dumped gallons of gasoline on his fucking boat ride home, do you know what I mean? For me, it is up the stakes a little bit, because if Ilia Topuria is not just fighting for a championship belt any longer, right? He is fighting for his fucking reputation. And as I said earlier, if he were to lose this fight, it might be one of the biggest humblings in UFC history. And look, I'm not saying he can't bounce back from that. He's a very young guy. I think he's like 27 years old. So he's got lots of time, and I could potentially see him being a champion later on in his career. However, it would be a tough bounce back. Maybe not for the fans over in Spain or whatever, wherever he's from. Do you know what I mean? Like Germany, Spain, and Dagestan or what have you, or Georgia, pardon me, not Dagestan. Either way, dude, the fan bases from out there, I'm imagining will follow him regardless, right? But the ones in the West, the ones that are listening to him talk shit in English, the fans at the press conference that are booing him and he's telling them to shut the fuck up, all that bullshit, right? It's going to be hard to win those fans back after a humbling like that, okay? Now, I see a lot of people making comparisons to Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo, and honestly, I kind of understand it, right? You have Volkanovski calling it out at the press conference. Oh, he's a wannabe McGregor. And while I agree with that to an extent, right? And I understand the comparisons, right? Featherweight, contender, hardcore shit talk, crazy amount of confidence, stealing the belt, all of this shit, right? Long reigning champion as well on the side of Volkanovski, just like Jose Aldo was. For me, there's one major difference here, okay? And that is that Volkanovski could not give a fuck less. He doesn't care one bit. He came out to that press conference dressed up like an old man, kind of memey, a little bit cringy, but I think that Volk's the type of personality. I didn't mind it. I thought it was kind of funny. I think Volk's the type of personality that can pull that shit off. He didn't go over the top with it. He wasn't like acting it out constantly, whereas I feel as though if Henry Cejudo were to do something like that, it would come off a lot more cringe. But He's just having a good time. He's just fucking around with Ilia Topuria. And Ilia Topuria almost seems surprised that he hasn't got under Volkanovski's skin. Or if he is, Volkanovski is doing a damn good job at fucking hiding it. Do you know what I mean? And in that moment where Ilia Topuria took his belt, in my opinion, Volk's response to that was one of the, like, it was the best response I could have possibly imagined from him. Just, yeah, you might as well take advantage of it while it's here. You're never going to see it again. I'll kick your ass. Maybe I'll get it later down the line. Mic drop. Not bothered by it one bit, right? Whereas if we look at Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo, a massive part of that fight and why Jose Aldo came out there like a fucking madman swinging and got countered right quick is because Conor was actually able to get under his skin. Ilia Topuria, in my opinion, as confident as he is and as funny as the antics are sometimes and crazy and delusional, he's not a good trash talker. He's not as good of a trash talker as Conor McGregor. Now, it might just be because his English isn't as good, but he kind of just has the same few lines that he spews over and over again. Whereas Conor McGregor did a very good job at getting under Jose Aldo's skin, right? And there's proof of that. You can tell in the face-offs at the press conferences because they did like a world tour. Jose Aldo's fucking annoyed and pissed off, and you can tell that he wants to rip Conor McGregor's face off. Whereas Volkanovski seems not very bothered by it. He's smiling, dressed up like an old man, having a good time, you know, dealing with things quite well. So I don't know that the comparison is perfect one-to-one, obviously, just because Conor McGregor was able to get under Jose Aldo's skin. Ilia Topuria doesn't seem to have that effect on Alexander Volkanovski. Now, Ilia Topuria, dude, as I said earlier, I respect the fuck out of this because it made me much more hyped for the fight, right? Because, again, he's not just fighting for a championship at this point. He's fighting for his fucking reputation, okay? Because if he were to lose, biggest laughingstock quite possibly ever, okay? But if he were to win, right, with big risk comes big reward, he might be one of the biggest superstars we have seen in a long fucking time. A guy who could unironically sell out a Coliseum over in fucking Spain. Do you know what I mean? So, that's just what I wanted to talk about. Wanted to talk about Topuria, his antics, what could happen, and all of that good shit. The comparisons between Conor McGregor. The press conference wasn't bad. There wasn't too many good moments, but I did appreciate the shit from Volk. You could just tell he does not give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you could tell on Jose Aldo's face, he was extremely annoyed. So I don't know that fight, I don't know that it's going to look the same. Do you know what I mean? So, anyways, dude, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I'll see you at the next video. Bye-bye.